Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Glide with some Dragon Ball The Breakers news. So Bandai just put out a report of the win-loss ratio for the Survivors and Raiders, as you can see right here, and it summarizes, just to summarize this right here, basically they're saying that from the beta to now, they started to realize that the Survivors are starting to win a lot more often, and that's something that I've said in previous videos and streams, where I feel like the Survivors are getting a little too overpowered, and it's just going to get worse the more skills that are added. Because I mean, the Raiders, sure, every time you level up you can upgrade their skills, their passive skills and all that good stuff, but they don't get anything new. It's kind of like we know what to expect from each Raider, whereas the Survivors, we're going to continuously get new abilities, new skills, new stuns, and it's just gonna throw off the Raiders because there's so many things you have to think. You have to think about. Am I gonna get stunned? Am I gonna get my ass beat? Am I gonna get punched by KO Kim? Am I get you guys get what I'm saying? And as we get more skills, it's just gonna be harder for the Raiders to understand or to figure out what is the game plan for the Survivors. Whereas at the beginning, during the beta and during the launch of the game, we kind of knew that Raiders were a little harder. There weren't many skills. People weren't upgrading their skills like they are now. And as you can see, this is the result report for the Survivors win ratio. So right after launch, this is all people that are new, that were new to the game, people that played the beta. The orange shows that Survivor victory by defeating Raider, which was not very often back then. It didn't happen that often. And then the yellow is surviving victory by activating Super Time Machine. That actually happened quite a bit. And then Survivor victory by successfully escaping in the white. That is the smaller time machine once the Super Time Machine gets destroyed, right? Alright, so now after 2 weeks, there's a 49% win ratio. That is basically 50%, so it can go half and half compared to the Raider. So yeah, there's a huge jump from this when it comes to beating the Raiders ass. That's been happening. I feel like every time I'm a Survivor, a lot of my games I end up beating up the Raider with all the other Survivors. Get him! Guy can transform. Yes, sir. Get him! Yeah, you thought you were gonna run away from us? Super Time Machine activation happens a lot more often too. You know why? Because we're getting a little bit better. Well, no, we're getting a lot better at beating the Raiders' ass to keep them off of the Time Machine, so that activates as well. And this rarely happens now. If this happens, that means the Raiders is really good, or you have some dumb teammates, dumb Survivors that you're playing with that aren't really cooperative. But for the most part, you're always gonna beat their ass or escape from the Super Time Machine nowadays. All right, now looking at the Raider report, it looks like this sounds about right. Right after launch, the Raiders had a 64% win ratio, a chance of winning. Orange meant Raider victory, including reaching the time limit, meaning they beat every single Survivor or they didn't escape at all. Yellow is Raider victory by Survivors escaping, so that means they escaped from the smaller time machine. They didn't escape from the Super Time Machine. So this sounded about right at launch. It was kind of hard to beat Raiders after launch. Everybody was still trying to get a feel for the game. Everybody was learning new skills and stuff like that. So that sounded about right. 64% win ratio. And then after 2 weeks, yeah, like I'm saying, it's like basically 50-50. The Raider can win, the Survivors can win, which is, you know, in a way that's cool because that tells players that they actually have a chance to beat the Raider. But in my opinion, I feel like 60%, if they were to go back to around this, I feel like the game would be better because Dragon Ball villains are just that much more powerful compared to civilians. I mean, of course we are superpower, we have the ability to dragon chains and all that stuff, but I feel like for the sake of the game and for what type of game it is, I feel like villains should always have the upper leg over the civilians or over the Survivors. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, like I said earlier, Survivors are getting brand new skills, brand new abilities, especially when we really start rolling out and we see all the things that we're going to be getting in season 2, season 3, season 4. The power scaling is going to be it's going to be so unbalanced. Survivors are going to always win. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, look at it. It's 49%. So it's went up 8% since the after launch for Survivors to win. So it's getting bad, y'all. It's getting bad. So not only do we have the reports, we do have nerfs and buffs coming to the game as well. Raised evolution speed of Raider Cell, lowered Raider Majin Buu level 1 evolution parameters. Number 3, adjusted to reduce the chance of the Survivors team being defeated early in a match. Okay, and then down here it goes more in depth for each thing. So number 1 was cells, raised evolution speed of Raider cells, slightly buffed the passive skill life absorption, slightly buffed the passive skill auto evolve, In accordance with the above, adjusted the gauge amount it needs to evolve as well as the rate at which the gauge increases. Okay, so I feel like Cell probably didn't need much of an increase to level up faster, but I understand because we saw the reports survivors are beginning to win a lot more often, so they're gonna need Cell to level up a lot faster. Lower Raider Majin Buu level 1 evolution parameters, lowered key blast speed, hit detection with attack range and damage. Okay, so Spopovich is level 1 for Majin Buu, and I agree with this. There's no reason his key blast range should hit you as far as it does. It doesn't make any sense to me, and the damage of it for it being a level 1, I don't get it. So I'm kind of glad they're lowering this, although he's not the strongest level 1. I believe Frieza needs a little bit of a nerf for level 1, but it is what it is. Adjustments to reduce the chances of survivor team being defeated early in the match. Slightly reduced damage taken while in transformation level 1 and 2. Okay. Reduce the time required to recharge the passive skill berry auto recovery. Since the time to recover has been reduced at the base level, the percentage increase from training has been reduced. Okay, so from this, in a way, I'm happy that you don't die so quickly when you're in level 1 or 2. But on the other hand, with how good everybody is with survivors nowadays, this is maybe this might not have been the best idea. I mean, I like the berry auto recovery skill. I do believe with it being an actual passive skill that you put on, I believe them reducing the time for your berry to come back, I believe that's a good idea. But the reducing damage in level 1 and 2, I don't know. I can't say that's a good idea with how survivors are starting to win a lot more. All right, and then finally it says adjust various other skills. Increase the cooldown time for capsule single wheel motorbike. Increase the cooldown time for grappling device. Reduce the cooldown time for Saiyan pod remote. Okay, all right, this is probably the stuff I agree with the most, because the motorbike is probably the best skill, that and the grappling device. So those getting increased cooldown times, I think makes sense to balance this game out, because if I use that motorbike, I'm getting away. There's no way the Raider's gonna touch me unless I'm like right below him. And for Raiders, it's probably the most annoying skill to try and kill somebody while they're using it, because it's so fast, especially if you have that motorbike passive skill on top of that. Bro, it's so hard to kill somebody when they're using a bike. Same thing with the grappling device. I think that makes sense to have the cooldown time increase as well. And Saiyan Power Remote, I sadly don't have it. I've only been able to use it in the beta, but I believe a lot of people that use it did want the cooldown time to be reduced, so that is a good idea. But honestly, the biggest thing that I want to see, and I think a lot of us want to see, is crossplay. I don't think they're gonna add it because Xenoverse 2 didn't have it, but crossplay honestly is the biggest thing that they need to add into this game. And matchmaking issues, I know they're trying to combat it with banning players or suspending players that quit prematurely before the game starts or during the game. So I know they're adding that into the game, or they have already added that. I get that, and that helps with matchmaking a little bit, but adding crossplay would just destroy all those problems, in my opinion. Having a huge, because I think PlayStation has the highest player base right now, Steam second, Switch third, Xbox last, or Switch and Xbox might be switched. But if everybody were to play with everybody from any platform, any system, I believe this game would flourish. And yeah, so that's really all I wanted to say. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all of these Nerfs buffs, the result reports. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't want to make this video too long. See y'all in the next video. Peace.